What's good, guys? It's your boy CS. In this video, we're just going to take a quick look at Bitcoin and see where we're at. So, starting on the higher time frame, bounced into the blue spider line, as you can see here. This is where we're at. We do ideally want a close above it this week. Otherwise, another rejection does kind of mean from a bearish stance, we may come down again for another week, and that this was just a retest to confirm the bearish stance that we are actually going to come now to the next spider line. So this at the moment isn't looking too good. And as we can see here, we got one close above on one rejection. And now the third candle, I mean, we don't know until the end of the day, but it looks like it's rejecting again at this present moment. That could all change by the end of the day, right? And again, this coincides with, these extended, kind of like similar to spider lines, I guess, but extended and historic trend lines. So we're kind of just bouncing in between this region here. The descending broadening wedge pattern. Oh, if we look at this bit, right, I can now finally get rid of them. So we fell out of that falling wedge, and now within this descending broadening wedge pattern, we're kind of in the middle. We're kind of in the middle zone. If we drew a line cutting it in two, this would be at the lower portion. So I guess we are rejecting. I mean, if we put a trend line there, I'm pretty sure there would be a rejection around here. And again, we just need to be aware of where Bitcoin is. It was a great move, but we also don't want to get caught up that this is still a bearish move. So I'm giving you the bearish stance at the moment, which is we're at major resistance levels. And even here, if we go on a smaller time frame, right, on the 4 hourly, we've been going in this kind of like channel, but you could call it a rising wedge. And eventually, I think that if we do hit this bracket here, we'd have to fall out of the wedge and come back to the point of control. And this is the most key point. Do we stay within the point of control zone? Do we break it and come back down? If we come back down, then we're going to keep bouncing in within this zone, or we might fall out of it. But we really want to stay above this point of control zone. As well, I've got two lines, these white lines, right? And these are the resistance trend lines where ultimately we want to see Bitcoin break out of. At the moment, it's not doing its job. So yeah, present moment, yeah, not so well. Now, if we come into the EMA ribbons, we can see that we broke the 20 EMA, retested, came back up, broke the 50 and 200, retested the 50, but we haven't retested the 200. So I feel like we could get a retest around here. Also, just in terms of trend, we've not even hit the 4 hour trend, which is down here. So we're actually in good shape if we're thinking about it from a bull perspective. Of course, the bears are going to have a completely different stance to where we are, but we just need to be aware where we're at with the trend. So look, right now we broke through the 20 EMA on the 1 hourly. This doesn't really, for really violent trends, then yeah, the 1 hourly plays a massive part. But I feel like the 4 hour is the perfect trend line where we can always find support on. It's historically one of the best ways to find support. And I feel that Bitcoin can retrace this 4 hourly 20 EMA, and then we can be on our way again. So that's basically where we're at. If we look at it from a weekly perspective, might just go back on the scrap pad. Yeah. So if we look at it from here and we look at the EMA ribbons, ideally Bitcoin does need a close over the 20 EMA. Otherwise, it is a second week and a third week of a rejection candle. And normally when we get that, we might get, as you can see here, so we had 1, 2, 3 under the red line. We had a fourth week where they pulled everyone back in, and then the next 2 weeks we saw downside. And same here, we don't want to see any kind of rejection from this 20 EMA. We reclaimed the 50, but we now need to reclaim the 20. And that's why we don't want to get caught up in a zone where really it's really unsafe at the moment. It's a very, very unsafe area, but that's where we're at. Again, I know a lot of people are talking about CME gap. I mean, if we go onto the CME gap chart, I think everyone's talking about this like a gap round. I think it's around this region, right? We could even create a gap. Like if we have a pump this weekend and we do claim it, we could have a gap here, so we'd need to fill it in anyway. So yeah, just something to be aware of. Obviously, watch out for the S&P, the Dow Jones, and the Nikkei. Nikkei will be online later. And if we look at the tether dominance chart, you know, we've come down to the actual 50 EMA, right? I know it's a lot of lines and a lot of yous probably don't understand it the way that I understand it, but we've actually broken out of this rising wedge inversely to Bitcoin, and now we're bouncing off this support level, which is the 100 EMA. Sorry, this is the 100 EMA. So again, it looks like it's finding a bit of support here. We could get a retest at 6.18, or we could go higher. It depends. As you can see, the higher highs, higher lows as far as I'm concerned. If we just look at the pattern of the tether dominance from here, right? See this yellow trend line, this one here going really steeply upwards, right? Might even just change that to white. So we look at the white trend line. See how it's always made higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. And this looks like a parabolic type of higher low. So at the moment, this still could hit the 6.18, and we want to see how it will react, and then could hit the 6.57. Or, I know we don't want to see those circles, we could go even higher. That's the bearish stance, and that's something to be always aware of. So yeah, keep an eye on Bitcoin. Keep an eye as well on the alts. The alts are they're doing okay. Ponky obviously getting hit again. Turbo is at the support level. A lot of these coins are at support zones. So yeah, at the end of the day, we're watching the granddaddy. Whatever Bitcoin does, alts will follow. So, and then the final thing that I want to show you was, if we look at the lower time frames, right, like the 1 hourly, we have got a divergence here on the wave patterns, right? So that is a divergence. On the 2 hourly, we've got a divergence. On the 4 hourly, we've got a huge divergence forming. Same with the 6 hour and the 8 hour, and the 12 hours basically come up. And if we look here, there's a divergence there. Basically, this line normally shows a divergence. This one hasn't even formed yet, but I'm just telling you this is where it looks like. On the contrary, on the higher time frame, on the daily, we've now got the flashing signal that this was a divergence. So this daily still has quite a long way to go. However, I still think with the lower time frames that we're looking at here, there is a bit of a divergence. So any short here might be sensible. It might not be. Is it worth the point? Possibly, yeah, because it does look like the bulls are running out of steam, unless this is major demand zones. As you can see, these wicks are actually very good. They're actually in favor of bulls being in control. But also, looking at just how much we have pumped from, let's say, 52k all the way to 60k, apart from maybe that kind of retrace, we've not really had a actual retrace, and we've been following this channel or this rising wedge for some time now, since Friday last week. So it's been about 8 days of just basically pumpiness, right? And if we use the contrasting scenario, Sunday the 25th of August, we basically pumped for just over, I'd say 10 days, about 10 days. So in contrast, maybe another 10 days up. who knows? Who knows? But at the moment, we want to see how much steam the bulls have got, because at the moment, it does look like this was a really good run up. However, like I said, on the weekly, all we've really done, I'll go back on the scrap pad. All we've really done is just created some steam to the 20 EMA. We've not actually gone above it. And that's where Bitcoin really needs to make its decision now. And I think the other thing that we also need to be aware of is Jerome Powell's speech is on the 18th, if I'm correct, which is on Wednesday. And so I think a lot of people have already put the Bitcoin price of the base points between the interest rate cuts within this particular candle on the Friday and the Thursday. I think we've already included that within the Bitcoin price. And as we know, buy the rumor, sell the news type of event, they're very rare in which, you get to a point where it's buy the rumor and then buy the news. As in, I don't think that's really a possibility with this. And I think that even with Powell's speech, I think that's already within this price. And I don't know. I'm just getting a bit of an inclination or sentiment that this is more of a retrace this week. And then we go at the end of September or start of October higher. Again, I could be wrong. I'm just looking at every time we pump, right? And we see a candle. So look, we get a massive pump candle and we get a big red candle to the downside with a wick. So look at this one. Same exact pattern there, right? Up and then straight red and then wick down. And that usually indicates a retrace. Same with this one. Big wicks up, big wick down, red candle and going down. Let's look at another one. You could even argue here, big green wick and then down. That's not really too big. Here, these two, I guess, wick down. It's only a retrace, and that's what I'm trying to get at. It's like a retrace. This is within a downward trend, but again, another example, that wick going down and then we come down. So after every big move, when there's literally a candlestick like that, right next to that big move, we normally get a retrace. Same here. That one kind of, then that one really. I mean, it's not for definite, but as you can see here, the probability is very, very high. Then if we go on that one as well, probability is very high. So yeah, my sentiment is just leading towards more of a retrace. Maybe we do come back to the point of control zone. Maybe we don't, but it's just something